And blessed to be with you, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Thank you all for joining us. The president continuing to fight the Chinese in the trade war. Here's what he had to say recently.
From November 9th, the day after the election, we're up 50% or more. We're up many, many points. We were at about 16 or 17,000. We're at 25,000. So don't tell me about 600 points.
There you have it. The president talking a little bit about that. Now it looks like Elizabeth Warren could be the one challenging him. Here's what she had to say about taxing people with money.
And another way we can restructure this economy, it's time for a wealth tax in America. Yep, this is a 2-cent tax on the great fortunes. Your first 50 million, free and clear. But your 50 millionth and first dollar, you got to pitch in 2 cents. And 2 cents for every dollar after that.
Wow. There you have it. Amazing when you think about that. Other news we're talking about is a proposal that is making the rounds across the country. And that would be eliminating the little box. You know what I'm saying? The little box when you apply for a job. Now, maybe it's been a while since you've applied for a job. But what happens is, you check the box. Are you a man? Are you a woman? If you've ever been, convicted of a crime, well, there's a movement across the country to get rid of that box because it's discriminatory. And we have State Senator Sherry Buckner Webb commenting on this at a recent conference.
We hear time and time again last legislative session and every day that there are not enough people to fill the jobs available in Idaho. We just don't have enough folks. So why would we miss this wonderful resource of people that are capable, willing, very eager to go to work and prove themselves again?
So what we were talking about recently was whether or not you would be in favor of eliminating the box. For me personally, I think you keep the box. The box should be there. Obviously, how long do you wait and do you discriminate against people who are trying to make their lives better? That is a valid point. On the other hand, is it fair to people that have not committed a crime, that have not done anything wrong, to be working with people that have been convicted of a crime? Now, just because you've done your crime, you've rehabilitated yourself, does not mean that you should be marked for life. What it does mean at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, that the public does have a right to know. And I think that's an issue that will be continued to be debated throughout the Idaho legislative session. We also have the session where people are saying, we might not have enough money to repeal the grocery tax, which we'll get into. Let's go to Hank in Boise with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Hank.
Well, Sherry Buckner's proposal has everything to do within black politics. In other words, the fact of the matter is that half of your black male population has been in prison or had felony counts either for drugs or other things in the prison system, and particularly this is something that affects the black community, and I think that Sherry Buckner's interest in this is directed by the fact that being black and representing the black community in her mind is a way of, for instance, of employing black males back into the population. I think that's what's motivated her for the push for this.
That's quite a charge so early in the morning.
Well, it's not a charge; it's a reality. In other words, when you have about 48% of your male black population in prison, or one time in their life in prison, it means that a lot of them can't vote, which of course a lot of your liberal Democrats push because they generally vote 96% plus for Democrats to be able to vote, and I think it has to do with affecting the employment of a lot of blacks too. In other words, you check the box, but she would argue to a certain extent that the box by itself is discriminatory against blacks.
Well, but there's no mention of race here, so let's take race out of the question for a moment.
Yeah, that's what exactly his motivation is what I'm saying.
Okay, I can't read her mind. Apparently you have. So, should that box be eliminated?
No, I don't think it could be. It depends on the job or the situation. Let's say you're applying for a job in a bank. You think that, for instance, if you had a criminal history, should you be able to not put? If there's any job that involves trust, or if you're working in a business that deals with handling the money or cash, do you think that having it may not be as important, let's say, as something like construction. It's something that deals with handling money or cash or like that. Could you this would be very important whether or not this person can be trusted in that particular job.
No, I would agree with you on that. But the idea of rehabilitation, see, to me, it protects the people, the employers, the employees.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Or, for that matter, if you were in the medical health field, or let's say you applied for a job for not only as a nurse practitioner or something where you might be in a position where you're handling drugs or having access to drugs, would you want somebody who had a criminal past involved in this?
Agreed. I guess that's all we've got to discuss here today. Hank, you keep your powder dry.
Okay. I don't mean it to sound like the harsh about a black population, but I mean, I think that's basically the politics that she's the political motivation here.
Hank, thank you for the call. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So it comes down to a few issues. Again, your thoughts welcome on this. When we're looking at whether or not the box, if you were a criminal, should be eliminated. You have Senator Buckner Webb saying it should. Hank giving his thoughts. We'd love for yours as well. Also, we have two contenders for folks going after the President of the United States. They're saying that on the Republican side, not the Democratic side, you'd think that the president's doing a lousy job the way all these people are jumping at him, right? It seems kind of crazy to me. If you haven't heard about this, here is conservative former Congressman Joe Walsh on why he would be better than Donald Trump.
We've never had a situation like this. You can't believe a word he says. And again, I don't care your politics. That should concern you. He's nuts. He's erratic. He's cruel. He stokes bigotry. He's incompetent. He doesn't know what he's doing. George, he's a narcissist. Everything he cares about, the only thing he cares about is Trump.
There we have it. That is Joe Walsh, who is a conservative, a former congressman, now soon to be a former talk show host on the Salem radio networks. Walsh laying it down, saying he's going to run for president. Then you have from the left, Bill Weld, former governor of Massachusetts.
Absolutely not. Let me just say, I think President Trump does have a vision for the second term, and it's what Steve Bannon, his political Robespierre, says. He says if President Trump is reelected, you're going to see 4 years of unadulterated, unrequited payback. Mr. Trump is going to pay back all his enemies. Pay back for what? It's another example of his extreme malignant narcissism. He's only happy when other people are losing. It's not enough for him to win.
There we have it. Extreme malignant narcissism. Those are big words for so early in the morning at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. The media hyperbole train is just simply out of control. Speaking of which, let's go to Liberal Steve, who joins us now. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Buenos dias, Idaho. How the heck you doing in there, Mr. Miller?
Happy to be with you, sir.
My brother by another mother. Say, first things first. Don't you call yourself a family show? Don't you?
Yes, Family Values. Family Values Radio, yes.
Well, then, on your when you go to your website stuff and you look at your show, would you please take that picture of a woman from the back, naked, holding a weapon?
Well, I'm not in charge of the digital content. I'll have to speak to management about that.
Well, yeah.
So you're saying there's a scandalous picture of a girl with a gun on the KIDO Talk Radio website?
The first thing that comes up, and girls with guns, and which guns are they talking about? That is
well,
so sad.
the depends on the caliber, I would imagine.
I used to be proud of your show that it was family orientated and stuck to certain rules and regulations. But if you're going to have porn on there, what makes you different than anybody else?
I'm troubled by this, and I'll have to investigate.
Okay. I mean, is that what you're selling? Are you selling the guns? Are you selling the sex? And as far as Max, doctors today learn different than how Max learned a century ago. And they are told that 1 in 300 individuals born can either go either way.
What do you mean can go either way? Either you're a boy or a girl, that's 50%, you flip a coin?
No.
Isn't it nature? Isn't it biology?
Yes. Science has proved it, and they're taught that in med school today, that 1 in 300 can be gendered as a male or female, depending on how they tend that they want to call themselves or grow up.
According to what?
According to the science and the medical schools
which science?
Today.
You can't just say science. You can't make things up here.
All your science journals.
Only I can make things up here.
And you know what I would like Max to tell us?
Oh, boy.
Where did he practice his medicine, and where did he go to school for 10, 12 years?
In China.
Did he do China. Couldn't he get into the United States? And where did he do his internship? And what were his grades? Was he an A, B, C, or D student? I mean, he goes off like he always has to promote that he's a doctor.
Well, if I were a doctor, I'd promote I was a doctor, too. If you were a doctor, I'm sure you'd do the same thing.
The doctor that ran for governor here in Idaho didn't go around promoting himself as doctor.
I always wondered about that one, but look.
Look what? Oh, how about the president saying China called twice over the weekend?
Wait a minute. You're kind of all over the place here. So you go from Tommy Alquist to Donald Trump. How does that work?
We switched gears now. The president lied again. He said China called twice to his administration over the weekend to talk about the tariff deal. And China says, we didn't call anybody. I think the FBI...
It really depends. It depends on who you trust, the president or the Chinese. I trust the president.
I trust the Chinese.
Shocking.
The Chi-coms, as your buddy says.
Shocking that you would trust the Chi-coms.
And that's such a dirty thing to say, Chinese communist, and short phrase it and say Chi-coms. Let's just start calling them China, okay? It's like saying libs all the time.
You're the one that started it with the Chi-coms, not me.
All I can say is that Republicans are going to lose big time this year. Big time.
You still haven't paid on your last bet.
Don't be calling me a Welcher, dude.
Welcher.
Is that that's all you got to do is sit here and call me a Welcher. I'm going to hang up and say goodbye and have a wonderful day.
You've made it wonderful there, sweetheart. Thank you. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Rolling on the right side, don't forget Girls with Guns. Check out what Liberal Steve is yapping about. Simply go to our website, KIDO Talk Radio. We are accepting your votes for the best girl with the best gun, courtesy of Independence Indoor Shooting, conveniently located in beautiful Meridian, Idaho. Recently, some of the state's top Republican lawmakers met at the Meridian Senior Center, and it's interesting that they met at the Meridian Senior Center last year, right before the session. There must be something magical about the Meridian Senior Center. You had a lot of the conservative or liberty-minded Republicans meeting at the same place. They held a town hall meeting. Now you've got some other Republican town hall people meeting, and it looks like it was a pretty cramped stage. And they were talking about an issue that we have discussed this program, not many others, I don't think any others have really dedicated the resources to people losing their homes, covering people losing their homes because of the high taxes. Our friend Tea Party Bob, and with him, now he works in Congress, Steve Ackerman, brought this up many times, that the escalating overvalued home prices, and let's face it, they are overvalued. I mean, how in the world can you go from a home in Canyon County 5-10 years ago, valued at $70,000, now worth over $240,000? Imagine if that was a stock. Dave Petzo would be salivating over that, right? But we have a huge boom in, people wanting to buy homes, right? So the price goes up. And now you have people losing their homes because of the taxes. Now you have Representative James Holtzclaw, who said this, according to the Idaho Statesman, quote, "This is absolute madness. There is no reason why we should have a 10% increase. That is in Ada County property taxes. Absolute madness." And Mr. Holtzclaw is a real estate broker. By the way, I do want to thank the people on Old State Street near Star for delaying us this morning. Again and again and again. Fixing the roads. I thought the road repair season was over, right? At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So now we have taxes going up 10%. Have services in Ada or Canyon County gone up 10%? Mr. Representative Holtzclaw continues, "I can't tell you how many people I've talked to who have been in the same house for 20 years telling me they can't afford it because the taxes have just increased and increased and increased." So there we have it, a public forum. The forum's topics range from transportation. Here's another one. Why did they have this forum when people can just, go to our website and listen to the podcast of this program is beyond me. We need more money for roads. Really? Redistricting, need more legislative districts. I don't think we need more elected officials that don't fulfill their promises. Nice people committed to public service, but they have not completed their promises. We'll get to them in a minute. Hemp, Idaho farmers will be growing it next year. Well, not so fast. It still has to be approved. And the property tax issue. Here you go. House Speaker Scott Bedke, man of the people. This property tax thing, we're at critical mass here. If everybody was writing the check instead of having it backed into their mortgage, they would be rabid. Well, look, it's the whole conflict that we have. And not to sound like I'm regurgitating what we used to have a live show here on Saturday mornings, then Saturday afternoons, where we would have a panel of experts, Patriot Ray, Tea Party Bob, Steve Ackerman, sometimes Kevin Miller talking to himself. And we talked about when you start putting apartments in, and people in apartments are nice, wonderful people. We're not going to vilify people that rent. But you add more people into the community that are not paying the property taxes to maintain the roads, the bridges, the schools, and everything else. So more burden goes on to the property tax holders, which we're feeling the pain right now. So how do you pass that on, a user tax, if you will? I don't know. I love this. We're reaching critical mass here. Really? With all due respect to the speaker, how long's he been around? How long have any of these people been around? And again, back to my point, what have they been doing? Let's talk about it next. First, time for traffic and weather together on KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning, Robin. And quickly to Blair. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, there's a really easy fix for the property tax thing, and it fixes for renters, it fixes it for homeowners, it fixes it for everybody, and it's just a flat 2% tax, but it's got to be on the historical value of the house. No more assessing houses based on the economy. It's based on what you paid for it. You do that, you always know how much your tax bill is going to be. You don't have to spend money to go out and reassess the taxable values of homes. You never make it so that people get taxed out of their homes because they know exactly what their tax bill is going to be. And renters, by the way, they don't need to pay taxes per se because their tax bill is factored into their rent price. The ones who actually pay the rent or who actually pay the taxes are the owners of the rental property themselves. So I think that one's already covered.
So what do you make of this when they're saying, well, we've got to do something about it? Well, Betke, what have you been doing for the last 20 years?
Well, I mean, this has always been an issue for me because I've lived in the Valley for, 30 years, 40 years. And, this is the same thing they've been going on for a long time. And I think the sooner that they just fix it, write it into the code, whether it's by, amendment to state constitution or whatever, just fix it in. 2% flat tax.
Well, it looks like we lost Blair on that one. More of your phone calls next, Blair. Sorry about that. You're listening to Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug. And never fear, our state legislators are here. More on the property tax talk in a minute. Whatever happened to repealing the grocery tax? First, Rachel Sutherland joins us, Fox News Radio from Capitol Hill. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
So here we have it. The president says the Chinese are coming back to the table. Do you believe him?
That's the news. And there's going to be a press conference here in about an hour in France with President Trump and French President Emmanuel Macron. And I bet that's going to be one of the first questions from reporters. What we're hearing is that China wants what they're saying calm in the trade war. So they're at least maybe willing to call a truce. I mean, they've said these kind of things before and then back down from them. But what we're understanding is that the vice premier is saying that they're ready to continue to talk with the United States about this, saying this is to a state-controlled newspaper. China is willing to resolve its trade dispute with the U.S. through calm negotiations and resolutely opposes the escalation of the conflict. And that was going back to the president's announcement of a new round of tariffs kicking in September 1, and then higher rates of tariffs, 30% that would kick in October 1st. So we're expecting to hear kind of an update, see where things stand during this joint news conference.
Indeed. Of course, Congress still out of session, so this is the big news of the day. President got a hit with it on both sides, Bill Weld and former Congressman Joe Walsh. Not really in your jurisdiction, but your thoughts.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's interesting seeing Joe Walsh and he was on ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos and talking about how he, as a Tea Party Republican, he kind of rode on that Tea Party wave from Illinois into Congress, that he felt somehow responsible for creating President Trump with some of his own rhetoric, which you can find his own tweets that are still out there that are upsetting to a lot of people, considered racist by a lot of people. So he said that he felt bad. He felt like he had helped create President Trump and that he's running against him to get him out of the White House. He also said that he believes a lot of Republicans feel the same way that he does, but he thinks they're just too scared to come forward and say anything about it.
Of course, it is, how can you say it, tough to argue with the president, considering the economy is still rolling, but there are concerns that the economy could be in for a rocky road. How do you think this will impact Congress once they return? Do you think, Rachel, there'll still be the fervor for gun legislation?
That's one question about they have been accused of backing off of the idea of gun legislation. In fact, Bernie Sanders was just on the campaign trail over the weekend attacking Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell in his own home state, saying, come on, let's take up these gun proposals. There are, I guess, a handful of Republicans that Democrats are going to try to unseat McConnell in Kentucky. That's probably going to be tough. I mean, he's been there forever. When it comes to the economy, some economists have predicted a recession within about a year that would put smack dab in the height of the campaign. And incumbent presidents don't do well in bad economies. That's just a flat out fact. So, but we don't know. We don't have crystal balls. We don't know. No one wants a recession. That's something that everyone gets real upset about, and naturally so. So we'll just have to see. I'm not an economist. I can't really make that kind of prediction.
Well, comparatively speaking, being compared to me, we could pretty much say that you are. I know you're not, but for the sake of argument.
I've had to learn a lot along the way, yeah. Just absorb the material.
Yeah, it's always funny. It must be fascinating, or some other verb, when you have to look at all these legislative bills and how many pages and try and make sense of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like I always feel like being a journalist is like always working on a master's degree or so. You're always getting more education. And we don't know everything, but we try to learn as quickly as we can and then, get it out there to you. But and each new story poses a new challenge sometimes, like, what are they talking about? So you're always learning.
Rachel, we're always learning from you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Our great friend, Rachel Sutherland. By the way, how many Democrats have dropped out? How many insignificant Democrats? You've got Hickenlooper, Inslee, Moulton, Ojeda. I didn't even know Ojeda was in Swalwell. They're out. Unlikely to run. John Kerry, Mayor Landrieu, or Governor Landrieu of Louisiana, and Schultz from Starbucks may run as an independent. And then you have John Kasich, who's roaming about as well. There's still many, many Democrats running. But we'll get back to that in a minute. Holly, thank you for your patience. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning. I just wanted to add a little bit to the discussion. As you know, I'm also in real estate, and
I didn't know you were in real estate, but welcome.
Oh, I thought you did because we're friends on Facebook. I thought maybe you don't go to my page then.
Well, now the shoe's on the other foot. Okay, duly noted.
Well, that's how those Facebook doesn't bring you into every friend unless you go search for them. So, but anyhow, the pricing of houses, of course, you can't control supply and demand, but the thing that I'm seeing, which is not so good, is for Idahoans or people that live here, because of the prices of the taxes, then they'll go to the lender and the lender will say to me, what are the taxes on that house? Because they may not qualify for as much house because, you have to budget for that payment. And so not only because the prices are high, but because of those increased in excess taxes, then we're seeing first-time home buyers or people who may be of limited income. And then we don't see a whole lot of, there's a lot of jobs in the Treasure Valley, but maybe not good jobs. And then we see the things happening with Micron. And so it's just not so good for people that are Idahoans, in my opinion, especially with the increased taxes. So,
well, what do you make of the state legislature? This is critical mass. We're going to do something. Sure you are.
You never know how much of that is posturing and how much of that is truth. There's so many things that, as you know, I helped with Christy Zetto's campaign here in our district, and there's just so much of that pomp and circumstance, so it's hard to know what will really happen on that one.
Well, let's be honest, shall we?
Sure.
All right. When's the last time outside of the Second Amendment that the legislature really did something that reflected the will of the people? Medicaid expansion? I don't think so. I'm going to shut up now. Go ahead, please.
Well, and also passing ridiculous things like that mandate to vaccine the 12th graders. And, that's I guess what I'm saying is there's lots of, you just need to look at who contributes to those campaigns, go to the Secretary of State site, go to the Idaho Freedom Foundation, the Second Amendment Alliance. Unfortunately, there's a lot of legislators that are more enticed by a possible appointment to a state agency than they are by making the people that vote for them into office, because it becomes a big club to some degree.
Well, as I'm looking at this here, just kind of for giggles, you got the speaker, this is critical mass. Well, this has been going on for a couple of years there, Speaker Bedke. With all due respect, we don't have the excuses that we have in the big house in Washington, D.C. We've got Republican governor, Republican Senate, Republican House. I love, Holly, how they can spend money on their own pet projects, most notably the HP complex, no grocery tax repeal. And now the governor saying in a statement that, and this sounds familiar, that state revenue collections were down in July. And if the trend continues, the legislature needs to prepare to cut spending and lower budget requests. Now, how in the world can the budget? This was the same thing they used last year. Well, revenues are down, no repeal of the grocery tax. And the idea that they actually care about people being kicked out of their homes because the high-priced people from California coming in and forcing people out.
That's correct. I think it seems like that they may be more, like I said, enticed to do the things that are the will of what's going to get them appointed to an agency or another job or things that are maybe not the needs of the people. I think people need to become involved in their state legislative races, and they need to go to places like the Idaho Freedom Foundation and Second Amendment Alliance and realize what's really going on in our state. They could also watch the video on YouTube called Rocky Mountain Heist and see what happened in Colorado, because it could easily happen here.
All right, Holly, I'm glad you're promoting everybody but this show. We appreciate that.
I'm not promoting everybody at this show. I'm promoting.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
How is that promoting everybody but
you know,
the show?
I've promoted
look, get information.
I've promoted all those people, and I'll tell you, with the exception of the Second Amendment Alliance, they don't reciprocate. So, Holly,
well, I would have to. I'll tell you right away. I'll start doing it more for you. But you're right. Thank you, KIDO Radio. You do an awesome job of getting the word out. You do an awesome job of letting there be a platform. So.
We love you, and we love the Second Amendment Alliance. Take care, Holly.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Boy, that Holly, she knows the real estate and knows the government as well. So, more from this meeting that happened. And why are they having a meeting? Look, all you have to do is listen to this program. Every morning, property taxes are up. People want the repeal of the grocery tax. And now we're hearing, well, it doesn't look like that's going to happen, everybody. Joining us now, the mayor of New Meadows, Idaho, Tea Party Bob, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. I'm not sure about the mayor part of the whole thing, but it's nice to have you back in the saddle, and I hope you had a pleasant vacation.
I missed everybody.
I'm sure you did. We sure missed you, although I did get a lot more sleep in the morning.
Well, that's over now.
I know. You know, let's start with Sherry Buckner-Witt's comment on need for labor in our state. As a former employer of young people who had experienced a conviction for a crime and were out on probation, I will tell you that it is important for an employer to know the background of their employees, not just for their own security and for their business, but also for the safety of their employees and the people that these people are going to have to deal with in the public. You know, eliminating the checkoff box on a felony conviction would set a dangerous precedent, as a prospective employer would be put in a position of not knowing if he or she should be wary or cautious of a new employee, especially if they are in a business that could put the employee in a situation where his past demeanor could cause a problem with either of the other employees, or if they are engaging with the public themselves. My question to Ms. Webb is why the Democrats would be fighting to keep Medicaid expansion recipients from working 20 hours a week if we need more employees for the businesses in Idaho, but want to change the rule for convicted felons having to check off the box indicating they were on probation or had prior criminal records. This lady has lost all credibility as someone who was a functional part of our legislature in the past. On the prisoner who wants to get the sex change, I think the Ninth Circuit Court needs to be broken up, as they have way too much to say when it comes to items like this. We have citizens in our state who pay taxes, work hard, but are unable to pay for proper health care and in many cases for the necessary medications to keep them healthy. Why would we pay for the operation that is going to cost citizens of Idaho $30,000 while we allow productive, hardworking citizens who can't find the means to get proper health care because of circumstances? This makes absolutely no sense to me, and Governor Little should continue to fight this ruling. And on taxes, I have said it before, I'm going to say it again, that the urban areas of this state are going to suffer from higher and higher taxes because of bad planning by the officials that they have elected for so many years who have failed the public. We are years behind in building the infrastructure that is necessary, and it will not change anytime soon. So I'm betting that the grocery tax is behind the eight ball, and we will not see it repealed in the next legislative session. And I only hope the public's smart enough to dump the clowns that have really turned on the people of this state. This grocery tax hurts those who are in the lower income brackets more than anybody else, and it needs to be changed.
Well, I agree. And now they're already, ginning it up now. Well, revenues are down. We're going to have to cut spending. Revenues are down. So many people moving into the state. How does that happen?
It's called creative accounting by the legislature. I have seen this happen time and time again. When they don't want something to pass, they will find a reason for it not to pass. It's very simple. The thing we need to do is to find a reason not to elect the same dummies year after year after year.
Did you say dummies?
Dummies. D-U-M-M-I-E-S. Dummies.
Oof.
It's unfortunate. I mean, people go to the voting box and they check off somebody they don't even know. They don't do any homework, and they don't seem to
Well,
care.
then, who are the dummies? The people that are running or the people that vote for them?
It's a good question, isn't it?
I'm full of it today.
It's something to think about, isn't it?
Yeah, who's the real dummy?
Love the comment. Thank you very much for that one.
You can use that on a headline if you'd like. Who's the dummy?
I will try to do that today. Although I have to head down to the Treasure Valley today, so I don't know. One more day of aggravation for me.
Well, we look forward to it.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank
we'll
you.
talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Our great friend Tea Party Bob joining us. We'd love to hear from you next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Don't forget, coming up, the Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic, brought to you by CapEd Credit Union. More details at KIDOTalkRadio.com. It's a free event. If you're new to the Treasure Valley, you're going to love it. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday mornings. Check out the balloons. Go there. Watch them fly and meet the pilots and all things balloons. Friday night, the historic Night Glow, where everybody comes out and the balloons light up. Truly a unique Idaho Treasure Valley event. And Saturday morning, the balloons will be back. And Sunday morning, the balloons will be there as well. It is just something that you have to see to believe, and it's free. Brought to you by CapEd Credit Union. The Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic. One thing that isn't free are taxes. We'll talk more about that in a minute. First, traffic and weather together. KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Robin. And Kevin Miller in the morning here. This will be a topic that will resonate again and again and again until the legislative session. It comes from a town hall meeting some state reps had last week where they wanted to hear from you. And basically, what did they say? The people, they're upset about the property taxes being jacked up again and again and again. And essentially, I don't even know if they came to a conclusion. We have Mike Moyle that occasionally listens to this program saying, look, about a few years ago, the state cut almost 30% of its spending. At the same time that happened, local government's budgets were growing at almost 30%. Well, yeah, because people were moving in. The majority leader explained that this happened because when setting annual budgets, the state first projects tax revenues and then builds a budget based on what it expects to receive. Of course, that didn't happen last year when, we had a shortfall. No, we didn't. Yes, we did. It's all so confusing, right? Counties, cities, and other local taxing districts do the opposite. They build their budgets and then decide how much to levy in property tax dollars to collect the revenue they need. So the state has to constantly monitor monthly tax receipts and adjust accordingly. But local governments don't have to do this because they've already billed taxpayers for the money they need for their budget. Cities and counties set their budget and they look at all property out there and they say, now we can just adjust our mill levy rates to meet our budgets, said Assistant Majority Leader Jason Monks of Nampa. That is a real problem, and that is what we are trying to fix. Well, we'll see if they fix it. It is an election year, and it's something that we will be championing. A few things that we are going to look at. You know, the championing of repealing the grocery tax, getting this property tax thing under control, and again, looking at affordable higher education in the Treasure Valley. CWI does a tremendous job with what they do. They haven't raised tuition since its inception, right? On the other hand, Boise State, hey, everybody, let's go beat Florida State. They've raised their tuition. They have staff and faculty making well into the six figures. Not everybody, but a lot of folks making big, big money. As I've argued, perhaps the Lone Ranger when it comes to responsible fiscal sanity and discipline. When it comes to higher education, tell me how you justify paying a university president How many times more than the mayor of the city of Boise? Many times more than the governor of Idaho? Many times more than the congressmen and the senators? Where is the ROI there? I'd like to hear your thoughts next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.